welcome back to Trader.Eric.Explores, presented by Darkside Tiki. It's been a while, guys. Probably about a year or so since the last podcast released, and after thinking about it for a while, I feel like video is probably the better way to go. I really want to be able to share videos and photos and things with you guys, and can't really represent that through the audio of a podcast. So we're going to try something new here and see how it goes. So coming to you live from the Sinister Swizzle, my personal home bar. I like to call it a tiki bar, but the traditional tiki probably not as much as it is kind of a dive bar dedicated to, a lot of tiki, but also what represents me as a person. So I've got a lot of horror and a lot of creepiness, and I think as these videos go on, I'll be able to kind of share different aspects. Hopefully you guys saw the intro video, didn't skip it, at least not for the first go around. Get you a little behind the scenes action at the Sinister Swizzle. A work in progress always. I'm always looking for stuff. And ironically, I would say a lot of the stuff in here comes from, thrifting, Goodwill, and antique malls and things like that. All the bizarre masks and things that I have, acquired from a little bit of thriftiness, a lot of Goodwills. So yeah, I intend to kind of show you bits and pieces of that as we move forward through these episodes. But so the format, I'd like to start with a drink. So we're going to mix a drink together, and then kind of talk to you a little bit about some of the things I've done lately, most of which will probably be tiki related, tiki centric, but may not necessarily always be that way. If you guys have listened to the podcast before, I think we were up to like episode 11. So we'll consider this episode 12 of Trader.Eric.Explores. But tonight, I want to mix you guys a Mai Tai. And, there's a lot of different Mai Tai recipes, lots of videos on YouTube already. Every restaurant does it a little bit differently. And I've talked about this in the podcast before, but I don't like sweet tiki drinks. I don't like sugar syrup. I don't like using it. If I can avoid it at all costs, I will. So my Mai Tai is a little less sweet. Fewest ingredients as possible, while still trying to remain true to the original formulation. So ironically, a few years ago, we took a trip to Three Dots and a Dash and got some nice glassware and a hat and a t-shirt, I'm sure. But ironically, on the back of the glass had a really awesome Mai Tai recipe minus the sugar syrup. So we're going to use that recipe with a little maybe dark side twist to it. So we'll start with that. So I want to make this like accessible to the masses when it comes to mixing tiki drinks. I have had the luxury of finding some pretty cool ingredients. There's a couple places in the Orlando area that you can get some of the more eccentric rums and some of the more specialized syrups and things. But I understand, like, not everybody can do that around the country. So I'll give you some examples of what I use and then maybe some alternatives that you may be able to find at like an ABC or a Total Wine or whatever, the local liquor store may have in your area. So for the Mai Tai, few specific necessities. You have Martinique rum, pretty simple to come by, the Clement brand. This is Clement Martinique VSOP rum. So we got that. That is only, again, a real simplistic recipe. It's a lot of 1 ounces. So with this, we're going to do 1 ounce of the Martinique. I'm not going to lie, I have some of the things prepared behind the bar here for the sake of time. So we've got our Martinique. Now, we're going to use 1 ounce of dark Jamaican rum. And Coruba is the tried and true. This is a little trickier to find. So I have also used some of like the Appleton estate ones. I think I've got a The 8-year works pretty well as well. There's a few different darks on the market. Even in a pinch, Myers works. Myers is probably my go-to dark Jamaican rum on a day-to-day basis. I drink a lot of dark and stormies. So some ginger beer with some Myers mixed with a little splash of lime juice. That's my go-to. But if you can get your paws on a Coruba bottle, this stuff is legit, and I try not to use it on my day-to-day. I try to savor it, but once in a while, mixing it with a dark and stormy is pretty awesome. But in any case, we're going to use 1 ounce of dark Jamaican rum. Okay, we got our 1 ounce dark Jamaican there. So then you need some Orgeat. Whatever. That's how I learned how to say it when I first started exploring for this. I really enjoy the BG Reynolds brand. I feel so. Little backstory: I have tried mixing ingredients. I've been in this for a few years now, and I have tried to mix my own Orgeat. I've tried to mix my own falernum, and I'm telling you, this is usually an Amazon purchase. I haven't seen much of this like in a store, but this stuff to me tastes better than the stuff I've attempted to mix and spent a lot more money trying to do. This cut the cost in half or more and save me some time. And I don't know, I'm a pretty big fan of the BG Reynolds brand. So again, everybody can get a hold of this on Amazon. It's not super crazy expensive. There is some availability issues with this stuff. Once in a while you log on and then whatever you're looking for may not be available in the moment. You keep an eye on it and it pops back up. The Orgeat's pretty common, and there's a lot of this on the market, and I would highly recommend not going with a grocery store brand, ABC Total Wine. You do have some good ones out there, but again, if you can get your paws on this, it's the way to go. So we're going to use an ounce of Orgeat. I already mixed up that bottle pretty good earlier, but you want to give it a good mix. Okay. Now, I'm sure people will have something to say, but lime juice. So I don't like squeezing my own limes. I just don't think, like, the taste to me overpowers the drink when you do that. And I know there's a lot of tiki enthusiasts that insist on cutting up their limes, squeezing their limes. It's cool. This Santa Cruz brand, lime or lemon juice, tastes pretty spot on to me, and it's not too sweet, not too tart, and it does the job. So Santa Cruz, again, down here in Florida, we have Publix, but again, it's probably a national brand that you can pick up. And again, to me, tastes just as good, if not better, than squeezing your own limes. 1 ounce of lime juice. Okay. And then last, actually not last, but maybe last, depending on your preference, dry Curaçao. So this is Pierre Ferrand, pretty easily accessible as well. 1/2 ounce of this guy. There's a couple of these on the market too, but this is the one that I feel ends up making the best mix here. You don't really use this in much else other than Mai Tais, at least not the stuff that I mix. So you got the dry Curaçao there, out there. Now I do have a Hamilton blender, which is a lifesaver. I very rarely actually shake drinks anymore. That blender does a much better job, but for the sake of theatrics, we'll give it a good shake here. Highly recommend a blender. All right, already had some ice in that shaker for the sake of time. All right, we got that, and then finishing touch, some Hamilton 151. So you have Hamilton, a little bit easier to find these days. More and more places are starting to carry the Hamiltons. I think I got this one from Total Wine. Another alternative is Lemon Heart 151. Just recently came across this down here, but I think a little more prevalent up north. I noticed a couple bottles in a couple different places up in the Chicago, Milwaukee area. But my preference is the Hamilton. So, unnecessary floater on top of this Mai Tai to get the party started. I'm going to do about a half an ounce there. Perfect. All right, so in Darkside fashion, we're going to add a few little accoutrements. I've got some Halloween umbrellas that I got from Amazon. Eyeball. Some cool looking stripy straws there. Now, again, slicing limes is not my thing. I found that these freeze-dried limes work just as well as a nice little accoutrement. And then something that I do take seriously is the mint. I grow my own mint. Took a few different times, trial and error to get it right. Once it gets going, it's great, but getting it there was a whole other story. But yeah, so we're gonna spank that mint. If there's another name for that, I'm not sure, but give it a good whack there. And we have our Darkside Mai Tai, which I'm going to partake as we move along here. So, perfect. I mean, truth be told, I'm not a Mai Tai guy. I am not a big fan of Martinique rums, but again, if you mix a classic Mai Tai, it's hard to go wrong. I normally won't order a Mai Tai unless it's a new tiki bar that I haven't been to before to try it out. It's a good pulse, and I think we've talked about this before in other episodes, a good pulse on what you're going to expect in the tiki bar that you're going to if they can mix a solid Mai Tai for you. All right, so topic of conversation tonight for starters is Donn the Beachcomber, and had the privilege, opportunity to go and see the Donn of Tiki movie about a month or so ago with Monkey Mike. This is it's been a traveling movie screening of this film. Not exactly sure when it's going to release to the general public. It's been well over a year. We missed an opportunity last year to go see it, but we did meet the directors at Suffering Bastard in Sanford. They had a small pop-up event at that bar, and really nice guys, and unfortunately wasn't able to get to the theater that they were showing it at that point in time. This go around, we did get to go to the Enzion Theater in the same neck of the woods as Permanent Vacation. So, of course, me and Monkey Mike had to make a pit stop at Permanent Vacation. And then, ironically, ended up going to the Enzion Theater in Winter Park. And a lot of the people that were at Permanent Vacation were also at the movie, which is cool. But the Enzion is awesome if you guys are local or happen to be passing through. It's definitely a cool vibe. They have a really neat, outdoor bar area under huge oak trees, and the theater is old school. They serve alcohol, they serve food, but it's kind of a different layout. The best I can explain, they do, indie films and things, but most notably, they do Rocky Horror Picture Show every Halloween. So it's a really cool vibe if you're in town, and that's where Donn of Tiki was playing. And so we had a few drinks at Permanent Vacation, and then headed over to the Enzion for the Donn of Tiki, and it was pretty awesome. I knew bits and pieces of Donn Beach. I had read his ex-wife's book, which kind of has one side of the story, I would say. But man, it was really awesome. So if you haven't seen it, if you happen to come across it showing, I highly recommend going to see it. Hopefully, it releases soon to where everybody can see it. But it really told an awesome story about this guy, things that I had no idea about. Donn Beach had the very first tiki bar. It was out in California. He was the originator of, not just a lot of the tiki drinks, but the theatrics and the escapism of tiki, which, now all the tiki bars you walk into, you get that vibe. And a lot of us try to replicate that vibe. So yeah, the film was really awesome. Me and Monkey Mike had a really awesome time. Again, lots of stuff I had no idea about when it comes to Donn Beach, and highly recommend it if you guys can find a showing of it, and hopefully it'll become more public to everybody soon enough. I don't really have any news or updates on that. Hopefully it pops up on a streaming service here in the near future. But tied in with the Donn of Tiki is the upcoming opening of Donn the Beachcomber, the restaurant in Hamlin, Florida, right outside of Winter Garden. So I live pretty close, within a 20, 30-minute drive. And I've been driving by the supposed area that Donn the Beachcomber is going to be opening at. And a lot of videos that I've watched and news that I've heard and seen and read, they had already broken ground. They had kind of the land scoped out of where it was going to be. So every time that we go down, okay, not really a whole lot of construction going on yet, but it looks like they're at least doing something. The ground is ready to roll. They've got the plumb. So come to find out, I drove down there a couple days ago, and where we thought the restaurant was going to be is actually the parking lot to the new Pop Stroke that came up, the Tiger Woods miniature golf course, which is awesome. However, all the speculation of where Donn the Beachcomber is going to be, not necessarily where we thought. So I kind of walked around and sort of got the lay of the land down there, and I have a pretty good feeling of where it's going to be. It's meant to be, there's a lake right there, and it's meant to be connected to the lake, and there's supposed to be a really beautiful outdoor area. Again, I'll share some pictures. I have a video of when I was down there, but I'll share some pictures of what the new restaurant concept is supposed to look like, because it's supposed to be really cool. So from what I've read, we're not going to see this even start until sometime next year. So I would assume maybe at the earliest we see this Donn the Beachcomber open maybe by the end of next year, but who knows? Unfortunately, I was hoping to get some, a scoop and go out there and see something cool, but unfortunately not a whole lot going on yet. Didn't really see much of anything other than maybe the area that it's going to be. So we did get to go to the Donn the Beachcomber in Madeira Beach before the hurricane damaged that entire area last year. Got to go twice, once with Jungle Jay, and the second time I was able to take my wife and Monkey Mike and his wife. So we got to go and experience, I got to go experience it twice. So when we went down there the first time, me and Jungle Jay, I really wasn't expecting much. I was very excited. This is a chain, or a future chain of restaurants owned by a bigger conglomerate. I think 23 Restaurants is the name of the owner of all these. They also own Ford's Garage and Tiki Docks, both of which are also really cool, really good, awesome restaurants. But yeah, so I was very excited, but my expectations were kind of mid-level. I figured the drinks weren't going to be that great, and I assumed, didn't know what to expect about the food or anything. And let me tell you, this place ranked right up there with the likes of Suffering Bastard on drinks, Permanent Vacation, Three Dots and a Dash, Foundation in Milwaukee. I was really surprised. The first go around, our bartender was a young lady who had no idea about tiki. She was going to school for, I think she was going to become a pilot. So this was just a part-time gig for her, working the bar. And those drinks, I think, had a zombie and then a rum barrel, maybe something else, but those two come to mind. And I was just completely blown away. I don't know, again, me and Jungle Jay talking about, well, you have an ingredient list and you have the ingredients. If you follow the recipe, it's not that complicated. Well, every tiki bar you go to, you don't know what you're going to get. It's like we have our tried and trues, but it can easily get screwed up and drinks, aren't good. So I'm telling you right now, the rum barrel And now I can actually compare it to the Mai Tai because I've had the opportunity to go there a couple times, which would be a future episode. It was better than the Mai Tai's rum barrel, and that zombie, contender for one of the best zombies I've ever had. So that was like step one. I was blown away. The drinks tasted great, and they were also strong. So 2 for 2. The food was absolutely phenomenal. I'm quickly learning that Hawaiian and that Polynesian flair is kind of my favorite cuisine. You know, I'm a big German food guy, but it's kind of winning me over. I've been making a lot of spam bowls lately here at home, but I got another place later on in the episode to talk about. But this food blew me away. Again, I've got a little video to share with you guys while I'm chit-chatting with you about it. You know, the poo-poo platter with a little bit of everything, just everything was absolutely phenomenal. You know, they had skewers on there, chicken and beef, and they had their pot stickers on there. They had shrimp on there. Blew me away. Blew Jungle J away, and then when we went back with Monkey Mike and the group, blew us all away. So with that, I mean, that was, I think Jungle J and I just got the poo-poo platter, and then when we went back, the 4 of us, we got that plus actual entrees, which again, I've got some pictures of to share with you guys. I didn't have video at the time, but yeah, the portions were huge. I can't wait for this place to open around here. I feel like that will be our go-to place. The prices weren't crazy either. You know, I would say on par with most other restaurants, so it wasn't anything crazy. And man, I was really impressed, and then so bummed when it got damaged hurricane, and then they reopened it as a tiki docks. It's like, what the heck? I will say it was a strange spot to have that place. It was a very beachy area, but not lending itself to like a tiki bar like that. I don't think the general public in that area would appreciate something like that. It was attached to a hotel, kind of like on the bottom floor of a hotel. The beach is like a block from the place, hence the damage from the hurricane that came through last year. But I could see a Tiki Docks being a better, more suitable restaurant for that neck of the woods. Tiki Docks is cool too. You know, it's more of a Margaritaville vibe. However, they do have a small selection of Donn the Beachcomber drinks, even if you go to a Tiki Docks. But yeah, so this one that's coming to Hamlin. Hamlin's an awesome area. Winter Garden's awesome. We spent a lot of time downtown Winter Garden. You have Crooked Can Brewery, a really cool like downtown area. Hamlin is about maybe 10 minutes south of there on the 429 when you're heading towards, it's almost like you're almost to Disney at that point. So, yeah, Hamlin is like a top-notch, new developing community. There's a lot of housing, but it's kind of a higher-end area, so they have a lot more now than they had a couple of years ago. But Home State Brewery's down there. They have a Ford's garage. Yeah, so it's going to be in a really awesome area. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see this place until the end of 2026, if we even get it at that point, which is, again, a bummer. Suffering Bastard, you know, for those of you in the know, that's my favorite bar, Jungle J's favorite bar, Monkey Mike's favorite bar. They're closing down and moving shop to deeper into Orlando versus Sanford. So they're rebuilding, creating a larger environment. So a lot of this stuff is, I just don't want to be left without a tiki bar. Hopefully one finishes while the other one is being worked on. We'll see. I can survive, but it's going to be tough. So we had the Donn of Tiki movie. We have Donn the Beachcomber restaurant. So again, it's just cool to see Donn the Beachcomber like reinvigorated, coming back to life. This tiki culture continues to grow, I believe. Like, you know, you see more and more of this kind of stuff, and let's hope it just, you know, it doesn't fade out. I want to see the restaurant be successful. I want to see that film released and be successful. Hopefully, it brings more people in. I want to try to make this more accessible to you guys. You know, if you're not necessarily in a tiki, understand what made me fall in love with it, and what I've learned, how I mix cocktails. Hopefully I can make you guys just as excited as I am, about this kind of stuff. So last but not least, yesterday, me and my wife went to a new restaurant in the Orlando area. And I only bring this up, like, I probably wouldn't have mentioned it if it wasn't good, but it was phenomenal. We just got a Hawaiian diner on Colonial Drive, downtown Orlando. Moa Kai Diner is the name, and it's a pretty unassuming building. Again, I've got a video to share with you guys as I talk about it. So it opened maybe a month or so ago. It popped up. I, hadn't heard anything about it, and all of a sudden it showed up on Instagram one day, and it's like, holy crap! They've got spam musubi. They've got poke bowls. They've got ABCD of all the things that I love, and like that cuisine is kind of hard to come by around here unless you happen to be at a tiki bar that serves it. That's really how I was introduced to a lot of this stuff, like a spam bowl. This place was awesome. It's really exciting because it's like my wife really enjoyed it. I loved it. It's not any place huge, but the service was phenomenal. They have a small selection of cocktails, including a Mai Tai, which was really good. Probably not a Mai Tai, but a good tiki-ish cocktail. And the food blew my mind. I had the fried spam musubi. I think that's how you say it. And just that was like, holy crap, I got to come back to this place. I had a chicken dish that came with some rice and macaroni salad, which blew my mind. And wife had like Korean chicken and then some pulled pork with the rice and the macaroni salad. And holy cow, I only hope that more of these types of places come around. Now it is hands down my favorite cuisine, and really impressed. Again, small place, cool little vibe on 50. It's not in the best of areas, but I was really impressed. So if you guys happen to be down in that neck of the woods, there's a few things around there that I'll visit. There's a couple record stores down there that I frequent. So any time that I'm down there, that will absolutely be the place I stop for lunch or dinner. I was completely blown. I only got to have one drink. I had their Mai Tai, but they had a couple others that actually looked pretty cool. They did have a tiki mug for the Mai Tai, and they had a couple others that I could tell behind the bar that they used. So pretty cool stuff. Don't know how many types of places serve that cuisine, so A+ on my book if you guys have a chance to stop by. So that about wraps it up for this episode. A lot has happened since episode 11 of the Trader.Eric.Explores podcast. So I started an entire brand. So Darkside Tiki. I will have all that information on the YouTube page to find the merch, IGs, and everything else. Got a lot of moving parts, but I wanted to develop a tiki brand that did not involve Hawaiian shirts. There's very few of those companies that exist. And, I'm a black shirt, black hat, jeans type of guy, and I wanted to create a brand that represented me, what I would want to wear to a place like that. A little bit of comedy, a little bit of dark humor, got some serial killer stuff because I'm from Wisconsin and that's what they're known for. Got some wrestling stuff in there, got some graffiti stuff. So again, t-shirts, hats, we've got stickers to represent. Please visit the shop, take a look. I would really appreciate any support that you can give. As far as YouTube goes, just starting up, subscribing helps, from what I understand. So I'm not going to be posting any more podcasts. It's just going to transition to YouTube for now, and we'll see where this goes. I'm really excited. Again, I travel around new restaurants, new theme parks, that kind of stuff. We'll mix a drink every time we meet and to talk about, different kinds of ingredients and what you can do to make this culture, mixing tiki cocktails and creating an escapism tiki environment. Try to make it a little bit more accessible to the general public because I feel like there's not a whole lot of that right now to feed off of. So I'm here to be your tiki guide. And with that, I really appreciate the support, guys. Cheers. See you next time.